A pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. September the 30th, the last Saturday in September. The next time we visit with you, it'll be a new month, October. Here's what the guest menu looks like today. Of course, Charles Edmond is back. He joins us. Also, Tanner Spearman of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. He'll join us talking UAPB, kind of give us a preview. He follows Charles Edmond. Then, of course, Willa Brown, Coach Vann Pettaway, joins us in hour number two. Here's simply what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Southern University and APB in a huge matchup. For Southern University, after an open week, they get a chance to keep pace with Grambling State University and Prairie View A&M in the West. Yes, it's a huge matchup, but you'll hear me say this each and every week for the rest of the season. Each week is a huge matchup for Southern University. Southern University basketball, and hopefully we can get a little bit more into this. They release their non-conference schedule. All I'm going to say is this. Coach Johnson inherited that schedule, and they're on the road a lot. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Money games, guarantee games, on the road, only home a couple of times. Then you'll see them in conference play. But guess what? You expect enthusiasm to be there, right? We shall see. Also, oh boy, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Damian Lillard will not be in a Miami Heat uniform. For some of you, you may not care, but I definitely care. I think there is a conspiracy, tampering, all kinds of things. I'm looking high and low. I even asked my best friend in the world, did he have anything to do with this? All of the phone calls, all of the text messages asking me, am I all right? What do you think? We'll get into a little bit of that as well. And last but not least, what's trending? Andrew Body. He's out for the rest of the season. I just put it simply as health issues, injuries. He shuts it down for the season. Now, rumors are everywhere. Will he be back? Will he hit the transfer portal? But for Andrew Body, just specifically, get well, get healthy, and we will see you in 2024. That's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. We'll bring in Charles Edmond, and I even asked Charles Edmond, I accuse everybody of tampering with Damian Lillard. Now at the Milwaukee Bucks, Charles, I'm not a happy camper. I'm not a happy camper, and I'm going to go on a vacation about this. I may go to Tibet. I may go to the Philippines. But it is what it is. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning. Good morning. I know we'll get into it. I know you're not a happy camper. You're not a happy camper with Southern University. You know, they won. People are not happy. You're not happy. And of course, you're not happy with your Miami Heat. And the tampering thing is just, I don't know, in my opinion. I would say no. I thought this trade was probably dead in the water 2 months ago. You know, usually superstars go where they want to go. And after the first month of free agency, when that didn't happen, in my gut was telling me that this probably may not happen, and it didn't happen. So we'll get into it, but I just kind of felt as days went on, you kind of felt like this thing just didn't feel right. And hey, he goes to Milwaukee where he's great. The question now is going to be what is Jimmy Butler thinking right now? I mean, he says, and he came out on social media and said the league needs to look into tampering. Yes. Do I think there's tampering? No, I don't.
Oh, I do.
I wouldn't
be surprised, Charles. I'm gonna push back. No, sir.
I don't think there is.
When they say it's not, it is, and there's been cases of it. But you know what? Miami will be all right.
Yeah,
I will be all right. And but for Portland, I wish nothing but I can't say it. But I will say this, and I know people say, "Oh, spoil me, get over it, Carlos." It just shows you that loyalty means nothing. It is a business. Adrian said, "Carlos, I tried to tell his mom he need to transfer. Saying it didn't work before the season." Or I guess he's talking about Andrew Body
Yeah,
there. We'll get into it a little bit more with that as well. But back to my rant. Loyalty doesn't mean anything now.
right.
And you know what, Lillard, you had an opportunity to leave, and you helped out Portland with the last contract extension to help them out, and you saw what happened. You see
Yeah.
what it gets. You see what it gets you, and also some reports are coming out that he said if he couldn't go to Miami, then he would come back to Portland. But once that can was open, he wasn't
No.
coming back. So Portland, I wish you much unsuccess for the next 10 years.
I still think, despite not getting Dame, you and I text back and forth the other day. I still think the Heat are one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the East. So I do think Miami's in that conference. You got, obviously you got Boston in there. You got Milwaukee, who's now upgraded. Those are my top 3. Milwaukee number 1. I'll give Miami the edge number 2, Boston number 3. They're still top 3 team, but for that franchise, they want to get back to the finals and win the whole thing. I think that one piece, Dame Lillard, was that piece, and they don't have that. So we'll see what Spo and Pat Riley have up their sleeves.
Well, when you have a culture, it's always a good thing. They'll be all right. And we'll talk to Coach Pettaway because now Drew Holiday name is being mentioned. Some other pieces. And then when I talked to Coach Pettaway during the week, he said, "Hey, Pat Riley's not going to mortgage the whole franchise just to get Damian Lillard." We'll ask him to explain that comment as well. But for Southern University, 1-2 overall, coming off of a bye week, 1-0 in conference. Kind of looking at some of the statistics, rushing, they definitely need to improve. Dead last. Defensively, the latest rankings are out. They're actually tied with FAMU at number 1, so they're getting it done defensively, offensively, and I'm still in a state of shock. 12th in rushing, 61 yards on the ground. Last week I said it's unacceptable. I still feel the same way. Anemic of the rushing. Offensive line, they've got to get better there. Quarterback play, they're throwing it a good bit, but in this age, you've got to be able to be balanced. And we look, Charles, at some of the other statistics, the teams that are not doing well offensively. Alabama State, Alcorn is in that group. Southern University, they're doing well defensively. Alabama State, Alcorn in the top 5. Southern University number 1 with FAMU. And special teams play. We don't talk a lot about that, but also you can see improvement across the board with that. Now, Southern's at Arkansas Pine Bluff, and the last time that they were there, Kobe Dillon just went berserk, over 200 yards rushing. Now you flip it, not running the ball well. We'll see if they try to establish the run. And then you look at this team offensively. You could count it. All 3 games that they've played, they've scored. They've started fast. They've scored first. And then it seems like the defense is making an adjustment. And then the offense, and Coach Dewey's offensive coordinator, and he's still taking a lot of heat with this football team. They have not been able to sustain offensively. And this would be a week, coming off an open week, to see improvement. And then we've talked to people in the chat room. They've given their opinions. Of course, not rushing the football well, but then you got to stick with it. You got to make sure you get enough attempts at it. And So, with that being said, those are the weak points, but still, this football team, and I said what's trending, they have an opportunity to still reach their goals, and they've got to keep pace with Prairie View A&M. Last week, I caught a little bit of the show, the broadcast. Prairie View with a big victory over Alcorn on the last second field goal. Here's Johnny. Good morning. Today, Southern must run the ball deliberately and use the tight end. Missing in action is there. It's there every single game. Yeah, intermediate routes. If I could critique, it just seems like it's either long passes or passes that are horizontal. Where is the intermediate passing game? Where is the backs involved in the offensive game plan? Where are the tight ends? So we'll see, Charles. This is the week, like every week, to win the week. Go 1-0. And if they're not able to get it done, if they're not able to be successful this week, you will see the temperature rise even more than it's all already is.
You know, very seldom, Carlos, is Southern football and Alcorn football in similar situations. And I think we're in similar situations when you talk about the offense. You know, last week we could not run the football against Prairie View, but Prairie View stayed patient. You talked about balance. They took deep shots last week, but then they stayed patient, took the air out of the ball, and ran the football. In the fourth quarter, when it mattered the most, they were able to run the football, get big plays. They stayed with it even when it wasn't working early in the game. For us, we tried to run the football, couldn't. And so that was a huge issue. And then our defense wore down the fourth quarter. There's panic. There's desperation on both fan bases. You know, for us, it's a little bit different. We're in a little bit more of a panic mode because we lost not only a conference game, but we lost to a division rival in Prairie View. So that basically counts twice. So for this week, for this Saturday, it's a huge game with a number of conference games. I think the level of desperation, a level of excitement, the level of anxiety is more for Alcorn. Because right now, you're 2 games out of first place. You don't win this game today, and Prairie View wins, you're 3 out in the first month of the season. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult. Same for Bama State. They lost to FAMU. And FAMU is rolling right now. I mean, they play Valley on their homecoming today. You don't know what's going to happen, but Bama State can't afford to be 3 out in the first month of the season. So there's a lot of anticipation on this side of the tracks for Southern University coming off a bye week. And if I remember, Carlos, last year and the years past, when Southern has come off a bye week, they usually come out pretty strong. So if you look at UAPB at Golden Lion Stadium, Coach Hampton, he's a fiery coach. Probably should have beat A&M on that Thursday night. Just got by miles. They got a bunch of good home games against good conference teams in which they can stir up the pot in the Western Division. So this is a big game for Southern University as well. They can't afford to fall 2 out or 1 out, because they haven't played Prairie View yet. So this is a big game for both teams. I think bigger for Alcorn. Similar issues with Southern University. Our defense has been lights out, created another turnover last week, but offensively, it's been a struggle. We're going to play 2 quarterbacks today. Aaron Allen will start, but Tyler Macon will see some snaps. So he's healthy enough to get out there, and we'll see how many snaps he gets. So we'll see how that works out offensively. That gives us a spark that we need. But definitely, we talked about continuity, Carlos, with these new quarterbacks and new systems and all that. In the first month of the season, we're still seeing that, with some of the teams in the league.
Yeah, and talking to some people this past week, if you did have a power rankings in the conference, there are a gazillion polls out there. But if we just kind of look specifically in the conference, we said last week a clear-cut favorite, a clear-cut number 1 is FAMU, albeit they kind of struggled a little bit, just a little bit, but they're still the number 1 team. Jackson State barely got by Bethune-Cookman last week. We had them listed at number 2, but they've struggled a little bit. And then the rest of the way, Hey, now I would put Prairie View A&M as a strong number 3. They've gotten it done so far, and the rest of the teams, they're just trying to find themselves. But with Prairie View A&M, I would say they're in the driver's seat right now with a big game against Grambling State. A win there puts them in an even nicer position going forward. Now they do have to visit Baton Rouge, Texas Southern. Boy, wow. With Andrew Body now, they're struggling big time. Alabama State, you look at that football team, strong defensively, offensively, having issues as well. If you get a quarterback that can make all of the throws and make them successful and be consistent, then you've got good quarterback play. In the chat room, I think Rube said Southern O-line is healthy now. They had injuries, and Willer had a profound bunch of statements last week. A.D. Willer Brown, former offensive tackle guard, offensive lineman, we'll put it that way. You got to stay with it. You got to run the football. You got to be tough. We almost got into zone blocking schemes. But back to Southern University, offensively, the O-line, they're healthy. Let's see if there's improvement, because I'm still worried. I'm still concerned. This offensive line across the board got to do better. And you point back to that 61 yards rushing, that is not good at all. And then you looked at this time last year, Southern running game was much, much better. So we'll see today at 4 p.m. against UAPB.
You talked about the power rankings. If I were to personally rank the teams right now, of course we know what the standings look like. I would say that that Prairie View's number 1, just because they've been in this position before. They've always started fast. They fizzle at the end, and that's we'll see if that happens again. But I would put Prairie View number 1, FAMU 2.
Wow.
Because FAMU hasn't been in this position. That's the only reason why. It's been Jackson State playing from the front in the past. We'll see how FAMU handles prosperity. I love Willie Simmons. And, FAMU's won they've gutted some games out. Alabama State, a classic example, but we'll see. I picked FAMU to win the East, but if I were just to rank the teams, the top tier, I still would go with Prairie View 1, FAMU just below them at number 2, if I were just to rank the top 2 teams.
What do you think, everybody in the chat room? I don't know if I can go with that one. You say FAMU's never been in the position of being ahead?
Yeah, in terms of, in the last couple of years, Jackson has won that game with FAMU. So FAMU's had to play from behind and hope that Jackson stumbles, which they didn't. Now FAMU beat Jackson. FAMU's in the driver's seat. Let's see how they handle it.
Well, see, I'm thinking as far as ranking them overall so far, just based on what they've done this season. Now, Prairie View's done well in the conference. Then if we look at non-conference games, Prairie View got spanked by Abilene Christian. But FAMU played South Florida.
Yeah.
And only lost by 14 points. So I'm still confident in FAMU. I would rank them number 1. Now, JSU has struggled, but I would still give them the slight edge. Maybe we could debate, or maybe I have to look at Jackson State and Prairie View again. But, based on last year, the last couple of years, Prairie View, to your point, they always start off pretty strong. But can they finish?
Well, if you also look at the schedule, so I'm taking the non-conference schedule out. I'm just looking at conference games, okay? So that's how I'm looking at it. Prairie View has already played Texas Southern. They've already played Alcorn. They're playing Grambling today. They only got 2 more games in the division. Now they still have to play teams in the East that count. So we'll see how that plays out. But right now, Prairie View has the edge and wins, and they've got tie breaks in their back pocket to lean on. FAMU. So that, I mean, you have to look at, that's how I look at it as well.
Well,
And
no, I understand.
I think Prairie View's been in this position before. And so they've always started fast, but have not finished well. FAMU, they've been playing from behind the last couple of years because they couldn't beat Jackson State. So that's why I would give Prairie View a slight edge if I were to rank the teams just based on conference. And I know people look at the overall thing, but I think now we can move beyond that. I mean, we've talked about these non-conference games and all that, but now we're in the SWAC. You look at the SWAC games now, you settle in. That's why I would go with Prairie View 1, FAMU 2. We'll see. FAMU is going to have a dogfight with Valley. It's their homecoming. It's in Itabena, and Valley seems to rise the temperature when they play at Rice Totten. So FAMU better come ready, because I think Valley is looking forward to coming home. They've had tough trips to Chicago and Indianapolis. It's their homecoming. They're looking forward to being at Rice Totten. So FAMU better bring it. They better not play around with it, as they say in the streets, because if not, Valley will trip them up, and then that opens up the Eastern Division. We'll see how that goes. So I just would go with Prairie View right now, and I will give FAMU a solid number 2, but not very far from number 1.
Well, let's see. Edwin says Charles and I are on the same page. But you know what? Here's where I'm going to push back again. Let's throw out the non-conference, okay? Like you said. Okay. I put more credence on FAMU defeating Jackson State. Now, let's compare Prairie View's biggest conference win so far. Who would it be? It's got to be Alcorn, right?
Yes. Yeah. At Alcorn, yes.
Alcorn. So if I'm winning just that game and FAMU and Jackson State, I'm going with FAMU. No doubt about it. Number 1.
Yes.
Prairie View. Now, we can have that argument, Prairie View and Jackson State, and we're talking about just power rankings.
Right.
That's the way we termed it. But no. You're not going to convince me right now that FAMU – now, they may meet in a championship game if everything plays out. And FAMU at Valley, Charles, I'm willing to bet the mortgage almost that FAMU defeats Valley. Look, Valley, I understand Valley's a feel-good, new coach. Everyone pulls for Valley. I pull for Valley too. You mean to tell me, unless FAMU is just looking to come into Baton Rouge next week and have a complete collapse, it won't happen. Now, okay, Edwin, with tiebreakers based on division. Division is not one of my criteria with the power rankings. So far, I'm just saying, in my humble opinion, FAMU, I would rank them number 1. Now, you and Charles got Prairie View number 1. I want to hear from some other people in the chat. And there's no right or wrong in this. It's just conversation.
Yeah.
I stick with FAMU. There you go, Jason. FAMU will blow out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Joseph David. Oh boy. Yeah. We always get into these interesting discussions.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Charles. You stick with Prairie View. You got FAMU. Hey, they're in the driver's seat in the Western Division. But my power rankings is overall.
Right.
Throw out the divisions.
Yeah.
And then I did come back with, I think FAMU's victory over Jackson State weighs more heavily than Prairie View over Alcorn. Don't get me wrong, big victory on the road. Could have lost.
Yeah, I think, Carlos, to your point too, you can put 2 games and compare them to 1. So if you compare Texas Southern Prairie View Alcorn, put those 2 games compared to Jackson and FAMU. You could put those 2 games together on the western side and not come up with the same synergy that you would come up with that big win FAMU over Jackson State. So I do get your point. I do understand your point on that. Because,
another one?
Prairie View and Alcorn are not rivals, even though Prairie View, Texas Southern are rivals. But that FAMU Jackson rivalry is really big. And so I do see your point on that. I just look at just the track record in terms of what Prairie View's done to start the season. They've done this the last few years. So that's why I would give them the edge. And the fact that they have a very division-friendly schedule to start, And so I think because of the fact that they're playing with 3 in a row now, with Alcorn, and you got Grambling, they've already beaten. They've already beaten Texas Southern. They definitely would have a leg up. Now we'll see. The game of the year, Carlos, the game of the year is coming if this thing continues on this trend. Prairie View at Florida A&M on their homecoming. It's already a sellout. They've already put it out there on social media. The game is sold out. So that is going to be probably right now, the way it's looking, the game of the year in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. We don't know what the standings will look like at that time, but those two are on a collision course.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and that's why you say win the week. Every week is different. We can sit and look ahead, but the coaches. Yep. Joseph David, I could go with that. FAMU 1, Prairie View 2, because remember I said it could be debatable with the 2 spot and the 3 spot. Stecco says I would take a 1-point FAMU win. I think it'll be more than 1 point, but I get your point. Yeah. Chuck says Mississippi Valley is a school that people pull for as long as they do not play your favorite team. Oh, wow, Chuck. But you know what? And then last week they lost 45-3. They've had it tough. But yeah, you pull for them, but it is what it is. They have shortcomings that they're trying to overcome. A dynamic new young football coach. So we'll revisit it. We'll come back 3 or 4 years from now and see where they're at. And then as far as basketball and baseball and other sports that they compete in, I'll put it this way: the underdog is always popular. Always popular.
Yeah. Look, when it comes to Valley, Carlos, I'll say this, and we've had a devil of a time. Excuse my pun. We've had a devil of a time in Itapena when we've gone there. And I tell you what, if FAMU does not come out of the gates firing, they've got to make the first 2 or 3 statements in that game in Itapena today. If they don't, it's going to be a tough game. And as long as Valley lingers around, Valley's been on the road. They've been to Chicago. They've been to Indianapolis. It's been tough. When we've talked about that, those are games, obviously games you get a couple of pennies for in those classics. But, you got your home opener. It's your homecoming. You better believe Valley's going to be flying. And FAMU better be ready. Yes, should Florida win the game? Yeah. But when you play around with it, you see these things happen. You get tripped up. So I've been around in this league long enough. You have too, where these things can and sometimes do happen. And so FAMU's a better team, but you got to get it done on the field. And FAMU better start off fast, because if they let Valley hang around, it could be a long day.
In the old boxing analogy, a good big man beats a good little man every time. And again, as we go to timeout, because our first guest is waiting. Unless there's a complete breakdown, complete meltdown, if they're looking ahead to Baton Rouge and they're confident, there's no doubt a win will be a win. It's a matter of by how much. But I could sit on here and say, look, I'm hoping, I'm believing that Valley will pull the upset. But then you look at it in this way. Then you'll have some angry Rattlers coming to Baton Rouge the next week. So I want them at their best, but they roll. The lock of the week. FAMU over Valley. On that note, we'll take a timeout. And no, Pat, I'm not taking the phone call. Pat Riley's texting in now, boy. I tell you, I'm still going to investigate this. I am, Charles. Something is rotten in Denmark. But when you face adversity, you have to go on. And that's what the Heat will do. Coming up next, after our timeout, we're going to visit with Tanner Spearman of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. give us a conversation about UAPB. Could this be a dangerous game for Southern? Could be. Could be on the road. We'll visit with Tanner next. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Ryan Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
I'm returning to Clinton Paris, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Well, Charles, one thing I can say, the band seems like they're in a good mood. If the Alcorn State fans are not and alums are not in a good mood. But with that being said, we'll visit with our first guest, Tanner Spearman of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. There he is, Tanner. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the Carlos Brown Show.
Hey, good morning to you too. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you. UAPB, a team that is a few plays away from having a better record with a new coach and Coach Hampton. Talk about the season so far for UAPB.
Well, yeah, it's like you said, they're a couple plays away from 2-2, maybe even 3-1. I mean, you go back to the Southern Heritage Classic. If they don't get that field goal blocked at the end, they might have tied that game, gone to overtime. Who knows what's going to happen in overtime? So they had the momentum. So, and against Alabama A&M, I mean, they were up at halftime. Just defense couldn't quite hold on in that fourth quarter. So there's 1-3. The record looks what it looks like, but a few more plays here and there, it could be a very different season. But it's a young team with a new coaching staff. They're still kind of figuring everything out. So we'll see how much better they might be able to get as the season goes on.
And Tanner, with that being said, a new coach, and we often talk about a culture and trying to develop that culture within the football program. Tell us a little bit about Coach Hampton and how he's trying to change or develop a culture with this UAPB football program.
Yeah, that's a big thing for him. I mean, his kind of catchphrase right now is restore the pride. They want to get UAPB back to what it has been in years past. And, he was on the staff when they made a trip to the SWAC championship game back in the 2000s. So he's seen what this program can be. And right now, I think he's just trying to get these players to buy in to his vision for the program. And he keeps saying, I think they're hearing me. We just need a couple more wins for them to really start to believe it. And so that's kind of where they are right now, just trying to get some wins on the board so that they can get some momentum and just kind of really start to truly buy into the program that they're trying to build here.
And now, Tanner, with some extra days after that Thursday night game against Alabama, Birmingham, what have you gathered has been the mood coming into this game with Southern University? Are they very confident that they'll be able to compete at home?
I think, Coach Hampton says that they expect to win every game, as most coaches do, and they want to win every game. Now, they're excited. That's what I can tell you. Confidence, you have to ask them, but they believe that it's going to be a big challenge. They know Southern's a good team. They know it's not going to be easy, but they're at home and they're hoping for a great atmosphere, and they're going to come out and they think if they can just clean up some things that they may have done wrong the past couple of weeks, that they'll have a fighting chance.
Charles?
Yeah, Tanner. I mean, I talked with Coach Hampton at Media Day, and he is a young whippersnapper of a coach. He is very exciting, very excited. Just talk about the buy-in so far with this team. And he's a defensive coach, no doubt about it. Just talk about that buy-in aspect of it so far. As you mentioned, probably 3 plays away from having a much better record than what they have now.
Yeah, he's an energetic guy, and you get him in a post-game conference, and he gets fired up pretty quickly there. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you talk to the players and, they seem like they're bought in, but, you never know what goes on in the locker room. But I think these guys want to work together. They want to get this thing going. And, in this transfer portal age, they've had a lot of guys that have left the program with a new coaching staff come in. They've brought some guys in, and Coach Hampton's message is, hey, we'll take the guys that want to be here. And that's what they think they've got right now, is a group of guys that want to be in Pine Bluff, that want to turn this thing around. And it's just a matter of getting the wins on the board.
Do you think they understand, Tanner? I'm sorry. Do you think they understand that, this is probably one of the best home schedules they've had? You got Southern coming in, Alcorn's coming in. By the way, for the first time since 1966, Alcorn has played at UAPB's homecoming. A brave historian told me that. So they have a very favorable schedule, which they can stir the pot in this Western Division race, and it could start today.
Yeah, they could. I mean, they got Southern at home. They got Grambling at home. Jackson State's coming here. A lot of good teams coming to Pine Bluff. Every time I ask Coach Hampton about the schedule, he says they're just worried about themselves. So I can't get a straight answer out of him on that one. But, they're just going to play who's in front of them and do it the best they can and just try to clean up the mistakes and see what they can do.
Yeah, well spoken for a coach that's coming into the program more concerned with themselves as far as for those who will be looking at Pine Bluff for the first time. What is their identity on offense, or what do they do well? What are they trying to do offensively?
Well, they want to run the ball. They've got Jonas Davis, this freshman running back who missed last week, but he's still their leading rusher, averages just about almost 6 yards a carry. He's a guy that's really stood out for them in the first couple of games, so they're going to want to get him going. He's supposed to be back today, so that'll be a big boost for that offense. At quarterback, they've been kind of trying to figure it out, and going back and forth between 2 guys. Sounds like they're looking to go with Jalen Macon for the rest of the season, so he's had a good a good performance for them so far. So they're going to try and throw the ball a little bit, but they talk about in the preseason they want to control the tempo. They want to go fast when they want to. They want to go slow when they need to. But it's right now they're just trying to find some consistency because they'll have stretches, at the end of the Tennessee State game where they score a couple touchdowns, and the next game they score a couple touchdowns to start the game, and then they'll go, silent for a quarter or two. So they're really right now, as far as identity, they just need to find some consistency. And the things that they've done well, because they've hit some big plays as well. That's been a big help for them as well. And a touchdown pass to Michael Jamerson last week. It was a big run by BJ Curry 2 weeks ago. They're just trying to find ways to do that for 60 minutes and instead of, for a quarter or for a stretch here and there.
Tanner, Charles, we've been talking about it all year. Doesn't it sound the same? Yeah, offensively being consistent, finishing games, Southern, Alcorn, Alabama State, some of the other teams, same thing, offensively, trying to get it done. Now, defensively, Tanner, would you say that's the strong point, part of this UAPB team?
I think so. I mean, they're a defense that's going to give up some yards, but they've had a knack of coming up with big plays and big moments. I think about the Tennessee State game. It's a 10-point game. Tennessee State's running into the end zone to put the game away, and they strip the ball on the 1 yard line, and that leads to a 99-yard touchdown drive that gets them right back in it. Miles College the next week, it was a 1-point game. UAPB's up. Miles College is driving. They get a fumble recovery that really helped them to seal that game. And they've had turnovers in the other games as well that have led to points. And, they're actually one of the best teams in the SWAC right now at getting to the quarterback and sacking them. You've got Khalil Arnold with, I think, 4 sacks, Anas Lukman with 2.5, two of the best sackers in the conference so far. So I think those disruption plays, the turnovers, the sacks, that's what's going to make this defense go. Is the biggest problem for them, talking to Coach Hampton today, is going to be don't give up those big plays with the passing attack. If they can lock down the coverage in the secondary and really make things tough for the quarterback, I think they'll have a chance to at least stay in the game, and then we'll see what happens in the fourth quarter.
Charles, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I was going to ask, has this defense started to take the mold of a defensive coach and Coach Hampton? I just looked at the stats. They're third in the conference in sacks. So they're getting to the quarterback. You think those guys are bought into Coach Hampton's defensive philosophy since he's a defensive guy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, of course, you talk to Coach Hampton, and he's like, he wants them to be perfect. He wants them to get a 3-and-out on every drive. That's obviously not going to happen. But, I saw the defense the first quarter, the first game. They led 7-0 at Tulsa because they had 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery on a kickoff. They got a big sack at the end of that first quarter. The defense has really been big for this team. If they could have held strong for all 60 minutes last week, they might have beaten Alabama A&M. The Bulldogs just kind of got that offense going in that fourth quarter. But for the most part, this defense I really think has been the strength of the team, especially, like I said earlier, those big plays and those big moments.
I'm visiting with Tanner Spearman of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Special teams. It doesn't get talked about a lot. As far as special teams for UAPB, how have they performed so far this season?
Well, I think they're getting better. They had the Tennessee State game. Obviously, the botched snap on the field goal really cost them that game. But they've started to get things going. Made a field goal I think last week. And they had a big kickoff return. If they just hadn't held on the play, it would have really helped them as well. So they're really getting better as it goes on. But like you said, it's one of those things that we don't talk about a lot, so you don't think about it a lot. But yeah, I think it's definitely gotten better as season's gone on.
So if UAPB, if they are to be successful, I guess I'm asking your keys for UAPB. If they're successful tonight or this afternoon, it will be because of what?
Well, I definitely think with Southern's defense being as good as it is, if Southern starts putting up a lot of points, I think it's going to be tough for the Golden Lions to keep up. So I think the key is going to be the defense, keeping this to a low-scoring game. Don't let Harold Blood throw all over the field and put up 20, 30, 40 points. Keep it low-scoring, keep your offense in the game. Just give them a chance to make some plays in the fourth quarter. Don't give up those big plays. Don't bust coverages. I think as long as the defense can keep them in the game, then they just need a big play or two from the offense, and who knows what can happen.
And Charles and Tanner, I think one of the keys is going to be for Southern University, last in the conference in rushing. And to me, is for defenses. It makes the game plan, to me, simpler. You force the quarterback, the offense, Southern's passing to beat them, and you live with that. But I think until Southern can, establish a more consistent running game, they become more one-dimensional. And one-dimensional in college football is not good. We see it on all levels. So it'll be interesting to see. It seems like UAPB defense has started to force some turnovers, and Southern had a problem with ball security. It'll be interesting because if you see some quick turnovers and that leads to some points for UAPB, hey, they're confident. Momentum is now in the game. And it's interesting, Tanner, you said keep it low scoring. And every week, I think that's what the opposing team looks to do because of Southern University's struggle offensively in the running game. So it'll be interesting. Tanner, closing comments if you have some for our audience.
Yeah, I just think this is, like I said before, it's a young team. They're still kind of feeling themselves out with a new coaching staff. And, we'll see what happens tonight. But I think that there's definitely some wins on the table down the stretch of this season. And, with any rebuild, it's usually not a 1-year deal. So give them a couple of years and let's see what Coach Hampton can build.
Yeah, well, I'm sure UAPB fan base, Charles and Tanner, will be a little more patient. But for other institutions, it's not that way all the time. Oh, boy. No honeymoon period, no grace period. You've got to win and win now for most teams in the conference. Johnny says, hey, if this game is close in the fourth, one possession, it's anyone's game. I couldn't disagree with that at all. Tanner, we appreciate the time. We got the link to you. We look forward to talking with you in the near future to give us an update on University of Arkansas Pine Bluff football and their athletic department. But thanks for coming on.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
All right. That was Tanner Spearman of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. And Charles, it's very interesting. We kind of see the same game plans by opposing teams. Alcorn will get the same game plan. You stop that outstanding running back in the running game, and we say, you force us to beat us passing the football. And can you do it consistently?
Yeah.
You can get 8 or 9 in the box a lot of times, but then you got to make them come out of that. And I think you see the same game plan with Alabama State, Alcorn, and Southern. But for Alcorn, it's not their lack of a running game. It's their lack of a passing attack. Although, I thought he threw it around pretty good last week against Prairie View.
Aaron Allen in the last
He's
two
a
games,
better passer, Charles. He's a better passer.
Yeah. No interceptions. No interceptions. Very efficient with the football. High completion percentage. 2 weeks ago, 17 of 23. Very high completion percentage last week. He hasn't made the mistakes. And we had our first passing touchdown of the year, Carlos, last week to none other than a tight end on a 3rd and 4. A tight end's got to get it done for you. And I talked about it with our OC during the summer. Truck Griffin getting that touchdown last week, our first passing touchdown of the year. So hopefully, that will continue. But, speaking of continue, it's a continued downward trend, Carlos, in terms of teams not being able to run the football, in terms of just offensive continuity. UAPB is another team trying to figure it out as far as their quarterback situation is concerned. The defense is winning these weeks, Carlos. How long can that continue? At some point, you got to put it on the board. Now, we know defense can win championships. We know that. But what team offensively is tearing it up right now? I mean, Grambling scored 35 last week against Texas Southern. Can you say Grambling is that team? I don't know. Florida A&M. What team is lighting up the scoreboard right now in the Southwestern Athletic Conference? It's a defensive conference for sure right now in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And I don't know if that will continue. It might. But right now, offensively, if you're looking for a show offensively in this conference right now, it's kind of hard to come by. We got some slobber knuckles here. Low scoring games, 23-20. Defense is stepping up. So right now, the defenses for teams in this league are winning these weeks.
And I wonder, is it because a lack of execution and production? How many teams are balanced? That's my favorite term offensively. And then will defenses start getting tired if they're not getting enough offensive production? And we've seen that in some cases. Let me go in the chat room. Some very interesting comments, I must say. EA says the PV versus FAMU game will not be what you think. Hopefully our coaching staff will be very vanilla at this. And there's a strong possibility for a SWAC championship rematch when it really counts. Being vanilla, he's talking about against Valley, of course. And then also he talks about the big game coming up with Prairie View and them. Actually, he said it to the Prairie View game to be vanilla, not to show too much because it will be a repeat, or it could be a potential SWAC championship game. EA also said disagree. The quarterback play in the conference is atrocious.
I was going to address that one. Yeah. It's been tough on our quarterbacks. I mean, this has not been the year of the quarterbacks in the Southwestern Athletic Conference for the first month of the season. There's no question about it. You got teams playing two quarterbacks. We're going to play two quarterbacks today. Aaron Allen's going to start, but Fred McNair indicated Tyler Macon will see some snaps. Bama State's going to play two quarterbacks. So how many teams in this league are doing that? This dual threat stuff. And so right now we're not seeing a solid number one quarterback other than maybe Musa at Florida A&M. But other than that, we're all playing 2-3 quarterbacks. Maybe Grambling's found something. After scoring 35 last week, maybe Grambling has found their guy. But right now, for the most part, it's been a revolving door at the quarterback position in the first month of the season throughout the league for the most part.
And a name that hasn't been mentioned, I think he struggled last week, Jason Brown, Jackson State. Then at Southern, a lot of the fans clamoring for the backup quarterback, which is also the most popular on the team throughout the conference. Andrew Body shut it down. Prairie View and them, it seems like they've been getting consistent quarterback play. But overall, EA says, quarterback play has been atrocious. With that being said, let's take a quick timeout. When we come back, Wheeler and Coach Pettaway, they're ready. Coach Pettaway, Alabama A&M homecoming, so we will make sure we talk with him. And then I've got the question for him. I'd like to ask him, as with you, Charles, where were you this past week? I want to look at your itinerary. I want to make sure to clear you that you were not tampering and calling Portland just to get at me for not getting Damon Lillard. I need to examine that cell phone as well, Charles.
I think Jimmy Butler's calling me, Carlos. I think he's got something to say.
Oh, and speaking of that, Melody, producer, I saw that post on Instagram about Jimmy Butler crying because Dame Lillard. I'm going to be in a nasty mood starting after this show. I'm going to tell you that now.
He has every right to be. Jimmy Butler has every right to be ticked off. Through the whole summer, he was kind of told that he was going to get his guy. I guarantee he was in Vegas. He was in Vegas.
So wait a minute, Charles. Who are you? Are you blaming Miami management? Who are you blaming for this?
I'm gonna put some blame on Miami, man. I'm gonna put a little bit of heat on Pat Riley on this one. He usually gets his guy. I do think the Heat let some assets walk out early in free agency, and that made that roster. I mean, there are certain players the Heat weren't gonna trade, and I think that roster was gutted a little bit enough to where Portland said, you know what, if we don't get this guy, let's get this other guy. And Miami said, nope. There was a pause in the action, and then it just fell apart. I think that trade was dead in the water probably the third week in free agency. I think no one talked about it. I think everybody thought Pat Riley was the magician in terms of making this thing happen. And Portland said, nope. And you have to remember, jobs are on the line too.
Oh, wait a minute. Sounds like you're happy about all of this.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
I'm not. Over there.
No. I love Dame Lillard. I think Dame has been the perfect citizen, the perfect teammate in Portland. Usually superstars go where they want to go. LeBron wanted to go to Miami. He went. He wanted to come back to Cleveland. He went. He wanted to go to LA. He went. Superstars, now maybe you can put Dame Lillard maybe not in that superstar category for some people, but Dame Lillard deserved to go where he wanted to go. And so for this thing not to be pulled off the way it was supposed to happen, as an NBA fan, I'm disappointed for Dame. I'm happy that he's in Milwaukee. I know you're not happy that he's in Milwaukee. You wanted him in Miami. I get it. But it's just the way the thing went down. I think that trade was dead 3 weeks into free agency, and it wasn't. I felt bad about it. I was hopeful, but usually superstars go where they want to go. And when he was not traded going into August, you kind of felt that every day that went by, it wasn't going to happen. You heard Salt Lake City, some other teams that were thrown in the mix. Yeah, it was exactly. So I kind of felt like the trade wasn't going anywhere, but you never know.
But I didn't hear, and then we got to go. Oh, we got a question here. Adrian L. Wilson says, "Why do you need dual quarterbacks in the SWAC?" Well, that's kind of the trend in the conference. Dual threat. I'm more of my opinion that I like the quarterback that is a true passer, that can stay in the pocket. And if trouble arises, he's athletic enough to get it done. But first and foremost, he relies on his mind and his arm and his legs last. But the trend a lot of times is in college football now, the dual threat quarterback. Example, and I'm from the outside looking in. Macon, I've heard a lot about Macon. He's a dual threat, but I will say this. His legs, number one, everything else incomplete. I'm assuming he has a strong arm, but Coach Sanders said this last year. You need, in this conference, from what he says, you need a quarterback that can spin it, that can make all of the throws, the decision making. That's got to be good. Dual threat quarterbacks, just not high on my list right now, and I've seen him at Southern. Perfect example. Ladarius Skelton, who you love to death.
Eric Randall?
Yeah. Wait a minute. No, I don't think. Wait a minute. Eric Randall was not a quote unquote dual threat quarterback. To me, my opinion. We'll see what people say. Think about that in the chat room.
Yeah.
Dual threat quarterbacks has become an asset from high school to the NFL, says Edmond.
Yeah.
But can they do both?
Yeah.
Equally well? That is what I guess I'm questioning.
I think, in my opinion, I'm going to give credit to the defense. I think defenses are faster. You cannot have a pocket passer that just stands in a pocket like a statue, like a Tom Brady or Drew Brees. Those days are over.
Unless you have terrific O-line play. And some O-linemen, and we'll ask Wheeler about that. I think it's more difficult, or you have to work on your craft more in pass protection than run blocking.
Yeah,
but we shall see. You know what? They've been waiting. We'll take a quick timeout, and then we'll get Wheeler and Coach Pettaway in. We'll take a break. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Coach Pettaway and his Alabama A&M attire, homecoming, Alabama A&M in Huntsville, Alabama. A.D. Willa Brown joins us from a, I'm just going to say a secret location, perhaps Baltimore, Maryland.
I'm in Baltimore, yes, indeed.
home of the Ravens and Charles Edmond. By the way, good morning or good afternoon in some cases in Eastern Standard Time. Coach Pettaway, once again, Charles starts a mess in the chat room. We have people that are still talking about dual threat, and I think we misunderstood the question. Basically, and Adrian probably will come back in and give us another opinion if we don't get it right. But I guess Adrian was saying, why do you have to play two quarterbacks? You know, the old saying, if you got two quarterbacks, you have none. I guess Coach Pettaway is equivalent to a point guard. Does
Right,
he
you got to
run
have a backup. Yes, you must
yeah,
have a backup.
does he run the offense? Does he shoot? Does his first priority is to make sure the offense runs well? Oh, unbelievable. And then Coach Pettaway and Wheeler, we're going to get into you, a former offensive lineman. What do they have that's important in with the passing game? You know, run block versus pass protection. So we have all of that to get to, plus SWAC recap and games in the conference this week. Hopefully we'll get Coach Pettaway back. But Charles, I guess the question was, why do you have to play two quarterbacks? If you got a good quarterback and he's performing well, I guess you stick with it.
Well, first of all, I think you need a backup for a spark. Okay, so what you're seeing right now, I think, is that the starting quarterbacks in this conference right now, some of them are struggling. So you you bring in a backup to provide a spark that you need. Number one, I think in our case, you have Aaron Allen, who's doing a great job in pushing the ball down the field. Tyler Macon, who's really good with his legs, and you talked about it, and you're right. He had a 75-yard run against USM. That was our first touchdown of the year. That's what Tyler Macon could do. Still working on his passing. So you have that extra body in there. That wildcat, Tyler Macon could be kind of your wildcat type of deal. You bring him in, you got the max protection there. And so I think that's why some teams might do that, not all. But what you're seeing right now, I think every coach in the league would love to play one quarterback. But right now you're seeing that the starters are just not getting it done in some cases. So you play two just to provide whatever spark you need to get your offense going. If the starter can't do it, then you got to bring in your backup. Maybe that person can get it going. So I think that's what you're saying. I think for Bama State, I think they're going to play two quarterbacks today. I think one is probably more of the running threat, more so than the passing threat. And just like what we might see with Tyler Macon, more of a running threat than Aaron Allen, who's running the ball a little bit more because he was more of a pocket passer coming out of Tech. You saw the film on him, and last year he just didn't run it that much, but he's running it a little bit more now. So I think that's why teams are using two quarterbacks. One, maybe as a running situation, and you have another one in which he has a pretty good arm. So, and then the other aspect, if you're trying to provide a spark when your offense is bogged down, you got to bring in a quarterback to be able to provide some sort of push offensively, try to provide a spark.
In other words, poor quarterback play leads to other options.
Yes.
Wheeler, you want to?
I always
talk
think
about
you want to settle into one quarterback when it's feasible, if at all possible. You want that one signal caller that you can depend on, that you can do the things that you need to get done offensively. But as Charles was saying, there are going to be some times when that person's not clicking on all cylinders, and you need to make a change just to get a spark going, that sort of thing. And so, you want to go to that second string quarterback at times like that. But it's conducive for everybody to find that one quarterback that can get it done for you, and to put your eggs in that basket and ride with them, that sort of thing. And I'll say this, guys, I've always been the mindset that there are two 80-yard drives. Okay, there's the 80-yard drive when you come out and the quarterback throws a 70-yard pass and gets you down to the 10, and then you run it in. And then there's that 80-yard drive where you're backing the defensive line off the ball and you just grind it in, and you're putting it on them, that sort of thing. And from a defensive point of view, that 80-yard grinded out drive is the one that's most demoralizing. Because in their mind, they're saying right now, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day here. If you complete the long pass and, dip and dunk and sneak into the end zone, defense says, oh, well, lucky catch, lucky pass, lucky completion, that sort of thing. But when you grind it down, when you go 75, 80 yards and just pushing them off the ball and grinding it down, and I mean that lets you know right there. We're gonna be in for a tough day. It's gonna be a tough day out here today. So, I've always been the mindset that I like quarterbacks that are dual threat. But I don't want one with happy feet. And when I say happy feet, the guy that drops back in the pocket and at the first sign of trouble, he tucks the ball and he's taking off. You got to have that pocket awareness, that sort of thing. From an offensive line point of view, it's good to know where your quarterback is. It's good to know if you're at the tackle spot and you ride your man out, that quarterback is going to step up into the pocket and, give himself more time to throw, that sort of thing, as opposed to trying to get out, trying to get around the corner, and have you driving your man straight to him for the sack or for the tackle. So, you want a dual threat type guy, I think. But like I said, you don't want a quarterback with happy feet. You want somebody back there that's got a good pocket presence that, gonna take his time and, survey the landscape and do what's necessary to get it done.
And as a former lineman, you and your guys have to give them that time
definitely
to get it done. Coach Pettaway.
But Carlos, I still think even though you got two quarterbacks, you pick one, but you got to get that other quarterback enough reps so that when his number is called, he's ready to play. That's just like a point. If you got 2 point guards and you never play the second string point guard, your first string guy goes down. That guy doesn't have the experience. He's not prepared. So I think here, Coach Maynard likes to make sure that both quarterbacks get experience. They're into the game so that if something happens, you don't skip a beat. And I know in basketball, I always wanted my backup point guard to be ready because we would give him minutes, we give him the time in practice. I would let that point guard have reps with the other 4 starters, so you have some type of continuity. So I think it's very important. Yeah, you can have two leaders or 2 quarterbacks, but I think they both need some experience.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, most of the time you would see the backup quarterback when it's a blowout situation or the team is well ahead, get him some game experience. But I wonder how tough it is, and I guess it depends on the individual quarterback, that let's say an injury happens and you got to put that backup quarterback in. Let's say he hasn't, and I don't know how they do it in practice. Do they? I think I know a certain amount of reps goes to the starter in practice, but then that backup quarterback has to get in there. And let's say he hasn't had a lot of reps. Then does it depend on how talented that backup quarterback is, and then what is his mental makeup? Can he come in and handle it? Would it take him a series or 2 to kind of get acclimated? I don't know.
I ain't gonna say I beg to differ on what you're saying, but coaches know these kids. They know the makeup of these kids. They know who's able to come in. I ain't gonna say come in cold, but who's able to come in, off that bench and provide that spark that Charles was talking about, that's able to walk in and handle that situation, that sort of thing. These coaches know that, and, while you want to get them reps, the bottom line is you got to get that first unit pretty much clicking on all cylinders. And, so that's really, really the focus. But, as Coach Pettaway was saying, you want to get the backup guys some minutes whenever possible. 9 times out of 10, either we're getting blown out or we're blowing somebody out. And, those guys get a chance to kind of get some mop-up minutes, that sort of thing. But, in practice, they're getting reps. I ain't going to say they're getting just as many reps as the first team guys, but they're getting reps. They're getting enough reps to be mindful of the situation and know that they're only an injury away from coming in and getting busy right now. So it's all about that mindset, that the coaches instill in them and all these guys, I think they pretty much mentally prepared to go. It's just a matter of situations being what they are and, being ready to get out there, that sort of thing. And then pretty much call us, it's the luck of the draw. It's the luck of the draw.
Well, I will say this, Fred McNair said this on the record. He's all about the backup quarterback anyway. Just like you said, you're one play away. So that backup better be ready to go. And so Tyler Macon coming in was a starter. He gets injured. Aaron Allen comes in, and in every game he's gotten better and better. So, Fred McNair is all about who's that backup and making sure that backup is polished and ready to go. Now, I will say this about these dual threats and playing two quarterbacks. I think every coach wants to go with a guy and stick with a guy. And I think what you see when you're playing two quarterbacks, what does that lead to? Quarterback controversy. And I don't think any coach in this conference wants to hear that every single week. They would love to go. I guarantee Eric Dooley would love to sit there at that podium on Tuesday at 11 o'clock and say, Harold Blood is my guy. I'm sticking with him. Period.
That's what he says.
Harold Blood cannot get it done, then another guy's got to get it done. And now all of a sudden, he gets it done. He's got the hot hand. You go back to Blood, and now these questions come up every single week. Coaches don't want to deal with that every single week. Not in this conference anyway. Now, Nick Saban might be able to deal with it and handle it. But coaches in this conference in my opinion, don't want to deal with that every week. They want to go with a guy and stick with a guy, whether it's Blood, whether it's Aaron Allen, whether it's Tyler Macon, whatever the case may be. They want to go with a guy and stick with him. Because when you have two and you're juggling back and forth, then as podcasters, as broadcasters, as journalists, we're going to ask the question, who's going to be your quarterback? You got a quarterback controversy? Got a quarterback controversy. Coaches don't want to deal with that. Not in this league.
Well, guess what? Guess what? In my opinion, you hadn't had that in Baton Rouge. I'm here in Baton Rouge. Blood is the quarterback, Coach Dooley, and to the detriment, sometimes people are hollering for the backup quarterback. But Dooley sticks to his starter. Case in point, I don't want to open up a can of worms. Last year, what happened? What happened? They were hollering for the backup quarterback. But anyway, all of this started about saying, hey, you hope that your quarterbacks are playing up to the expectation that you want them to. And then if they don't, because at the bottom line, head coaches are paid to win. And then they're going to have to start doing all kinds of things to get that position right. Quarterback is equivalent to the point guard on the basketball team.
Right.
And it's so important, and you've got to have good play. I'm not a head coach, but ideally, I fall in the line of I want my quarterback starter to get better every week, improve, and I'm sticking with that. You're rolling the dice when you have to go back and forth with quarterbacks. You really are. And that's just one aspect of the team. Then, defense, special teams, you got all of that. But when your quarterback's not playing well, it sets the barometer for a lot of things to make it where you may not have a good season if it continues that way.
Yes, all of our schools in the same predicament because here right now, Casey's our starter, but Xavier Langford, despite his injury, when he gets healthy enough to play again, now that's going to create a serious problem for Coach Maynard because he was the number one guy coming out of camp, and I don't think you lose your spot because you get injured. So I think he'll be able to get it back. But I think all the schools in the SWAC right now, in terms of football, are having that same issue. Fans want to know, is that backup quarterback the guy? Well, first of all, is the starter that you put out there, is that the real guy? Or should we be going with our backup quarterback? That's why they both have to be prepared. They both have to be prepared.
So, Coach Pettaway, I'm going to be the dissenting voice here. My thought has always been, if you get hurt, you got hurt. I don't think it guarantees that you get back out there and get the starting position when you get well. If the man that has replaced you, and it's just me talking,
It's
if the man
performing
that has
better.
replaced you is getting it done, if he's getting it done, and let's say we've gone on a win streak and won 2, 3, 4 games in a row, the coach in me is not going to disrupt the magic, quote unquote, that I feel is going on at that particular time. I'm not going to make that change. Now, some coaches may, but if the ship is sailing well, then I got to pull the former starting quarterback aside and say, look, under normal circumstances, we will probably be getting you back out there, but things are really going well right now. The guy that's in front of you is really playing well right now. And, I really don't feel comfortable disrupting the ship, and hopefully you understand, where we're coming from, and I'm sure there'll be a point in time during the rest of the season when you will get back out there. You just got to be ready. The roles are reversed. It's unfortunate that you got hurt, but injuries are a part of the game, and we all know there are no guarantees in sport. There's just no guarantees. So the unwritten rule is okay to have, but if I'm on a roll, nah, I can't see making a change. It just won't. There's something in me that just won't allow that to happen. But I understand where you're coming from, Coach Pettaway.
Right.
I
But
do.
that, different philosophy for different coaches. I was always of the mindset that if you earn that starting position and you sacrificed your body and you got hurt for us, that spot is still there when you get back. That's just me. That's the way I've done it over my career. Because I think you earn that. You earn the right to be the starter with what you've done up until that point. And if we're doing well as a team with you as a starter, when you come back, I expect to put you back in that position. Because you got hurt doing what we asked you to do. You got hurt. You sacrificed your body for our university. So that's the way I've always done.
I feel you, Coach.
It's called riding. What Wheeler Brown is talking about is called riding the hot hand. And when it comes to the quarterback position, you ride the hot hand.
The hot hand, yep.
Somebody gets hurt, Brock Purdy, you can just name it. I mean, hey, whatever the hot hand is at the quarterback position, coaches' jobs are on the line. Like somebody said in the NFL, a quarterback's arm, you've got a whole bunch of people whose jobs are responsible for that quarterback, GMs, coaches. So you ride the hot hand when it comes to the quarterback position, whatever that hot hand may be. It may be Harold Blood, it may be someone else, it may be Tyler Macon, it may be Aaron Allen. Whoever the hot hand is, right now, Aaron Allen has the hot hand. Yeah, we didn't win last week. We had some issues there. Special teams, Fred McNair said disappointing in all 3 phases. Got to clean those up today at 5 o'clock if we're going to win. But at the quarterback position, you ride the hot hand, whoever that may be. And I think that's the way it is in football at all levels.
Well, I think I'm going to side with Coach Pettaway there, because if he's playing well and he happened to get injured and making a sacrifice for the team, then he's owed the right to at least come back as a starter. Now, if he was playing bad and he got injured, that's another that's another story. So I guess I think we're in the deadlock with that one, 2-2. But that's all right. Yeah, boy, and Wheeler. Then I got to look at a parent. I got to talk to a parent who might want to know, hey, he was playing well. We were on a winning streak, and then he got hurt, and now the other guy's hot. I understand that. But now you got to explain that to me. But Wheeler, the guy you are, I know you could explain.
And that's okay.
Well.
Got no problem explaining that at all.
What can Brown do for you?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. And it's not that we don't appreciate the sacrifices that have been made. That's not what we're saying at all. But this is a team decision, not an individual decision. This is a decision that the coach is making at the particular time that I feel is for the best interest of the team, and not necessarily the individual. Does it stink? Yeah, it probably does. And, I understand, your feelings Miss Brown and Mr. Brown. I understand where you're coming from, that sort of thing. But, the team is really playing well right now. And, if we're all team players, then we understand that. The essence of being on a team is the fact that, the injury is a part of the game. When you go down, somebody else steps in and steps up, then you have to continue to work hard, continue to do the things that Coach Pettaway said that got you to starting position in the first place. And coaches always say cream will rise back to the top. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It might not be necessarily when you want it to be, but, now you have to put yourself in a position that when your time is ready, when your numbers call, you going back out there and play at the same level that you did that got you to starting position in the first place. And now you grab a hold of that position, you lock that position down, and it's your position pretty much all over again. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just my thought.
Well, no, I understand. And guess what? That was convincing, Wheeler. I mean, and as a parent, I would say, well, son, hey, it is for the team, but you're not a quitter, and you never quit. And when the opportunity comes again, you be ready.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very convincing, Wheeler, very professional. I could deal with that. Now, if Charles was the coach and said it, I may have another problem. But because I like to pick with Charles. But anyway, let's switch now. Let's switch gears, and then we're gonna come back to our SWAC recap and schedule. Coach Pettaway, I'm very deeply disappointed. I said on this show for several months that Damian Lillard would be in Miami. Albeit how I feel about it, I have to ask you, where were you the last week? I'm faithful that you didn't tamper. I'm not sure about Willie Brown. I'm not sure about Charles. But my phone started ringing. I was at work, text messages, Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. Let me say this. The Portland Trailblazers organization, you're just peachy. You didn't want to trade Damon to where he wanted to go. Okay, I accept that. I've had people to tell me, well, the GM and the owner, they have to do what's best for their organization. I can understand that. But all I'm going to say is this. Loyalty, what is that? I know what it means. Throw that out the book. Damon was loyal to Portland, did everything, helped them out. The last contract, he could have opted out. Of course, he got more money, but he helped Portland. And now, when he wanted to go somewhere else, they said no. Then he wanted to come back to Portland if he couldn't come to Miami. You knew that wasn't going to happen. And so what does that say about loyalty? Some of my friends say loyalty. What is that word? It means nothing. For the player, get your money, get it, be selfish, and do for yourself. But anyway, Coach Pettaway, then Wheeler, we've heard of Charles' comments, and look at that smirk on his face. He's got a smirk on his face about Miami. Go ahead, Coach Pettaway.
No. I think Portland wanted too much from Miami. That's why they couldn't pull a trade off. And I feel like that after a month or so, when they didn't get the deal done within a month, you knew it was the reason behind that was because they were going to have to mortgage the team to get him in there. Because if you just had he and Butler, that was not going to be enough. And I think that Portland wanted too much in return from Miami's roster in order to pull that deal off. But now that three-way deal, that's helped three different teams. That deal has helped three different teams. Now Miami is in trouble right now. They need some more pieces. And it's kind of late to be trying to get them. Because they held on to the thought that, yes, we might be able to pull this off. But they didn't. And I guarantee you when it'll come out, They wanted just too much for Pat to pull the trigger.
Wheeler?
For me, the question would be who initiated the trade talk, that sort of thing. Was it that Damon wanted to get out of Portland, or was it that Portland was just looking to move him on and get some better pieces around what they have, that sort of thing? Because if it's a thing of Damon wanting to get out of Portland, even though he's played I don't know how many years there, that sort of thing, when you have expressed an interest in moving on, to me, that means that you no longer want to be a part of my organization. So if things don't work out to where I can't necessarily move you where you would like to go, I still got to move you, somewhere. It's just not going to be a good fit, I think, for you to come back, especially if you have expressed the notion that, pretty much you don't want to be here anymore. You want to be elsewhere, that sort of thing. Things don't work out and then you come back. It's just some issues there. I have the same mindset, Carlos, with the transfer portal, that sort of thing. When a kid comes in and he wants to test the waters, that sort of thing, what he's told you is that he no longer wants to be a part of your program. He wants to go somewhere else where he thinks, the grass may be greener, that sort of thing. For me, to allow that kid to put himself out there and test those waters, and then nothing develops for that kid, but then you accept that kid back and you give him a scholarship back, that sort of thing, I think you've done something to the fabric of the team that you have in place. You have to now explain, to somebody, why that necessarily took place. So I kind of look at it from that right there. If it was a thing of Portland just wanting to move this kid and things didn't work out and, the kid want to stay in Portland, and requested that, he'd be able to come back to Portland, then I thought they probably should have abided by his wishes and kept him if at all possible. But if it's the other way around, if Damon wanted to get out of there, even though he'd been there 12 years or what have you, if he wanted to get out of there and things didn't work right in terms of the next destination, for you to come back, I think it's just kind of throwing salt in the wound.
That won't happen.
That sort of thing. So that, to me, that would not have been a good mix. So that's pretty much where I stand with that.
No, I understand. But I guess, if you look at it, guys, a very good lesson can be learned, especially if you're a young player. I wouldn't sign a long-term contract. I would not. I'd keep my options open, and you continue to work hard for whoever drafted you and always be a team player. But at the end of the day, you have to take care of self first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the lesson, I guess, I've learned with this as well in the NBA. It's a business, and they're going to let you know it's a business. So get yours. Miami will be all right. You hear some things about Drew Holiday, but now with Portland, him being at Portland, Coach Pettaway, their relationship is not good with Miami. He would like to be in Miami, but I've said, doesn't that sound like the same record? He wants to be there, but will he get there?
I don't think you choose between loyalty and getting a paycheck. I think you get. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. We all know that the NBA, NFL lifespan is very slim. We know that you got to get whatever it is that you can get in the short period of time that you're getting it in. If you want to give a home team discount.
Yep.
I didn't do that, Coach Pettaway.
I'm back. If you think you're going to give the home team discount and, they're going to take care of you 4 and 5 years down the road, that sort of thing, you kind of kidding yourself. You can't really bank on that. So I mean, you have to go in with the mindset that, as you stated, it's a business, and these are business decisions that we're making, for the good of our families and things of that nature. And that's how, that's the mindset we got to approach it with.
Yep, I'll get over it. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go to Tibet. I'm not gonna become a monk. I'm not gonna go on a hunger strike. That was the first thing I thought. It is reality, but we will be all right. Well, if I can, let me switch gears. It's another basketball question, and Joseph says, Carlos, did you all discuss the Southern women's basketball non-conference schedule? Well, I just saw Southern's women basketball schedule, but specifically in my what's trending, it was the non-conference schedule. And here we go again. Hopefully I won't run my blood pressure up. Coach Pettaway, from a coaching standpoint, Wheeler, I can pull it up. I wanted to put it up on the screen. But guess what? Here we go. Here's Southern's non-conference schedule. The exhibition, Louisiana Christian. I know some people saying, who are they? They've appeared on the schedule before. At TCU, at UNLV, at Arizona, at Western Illinois. Come on. Western Illinois, that should be home. At Illinois, at Valparaiso. Wait a minute. At Marquette, at Mississippi State, Southeastern at home, Champion Christian. Wow. At Tulane, Wiley College, and Ecclesia College. Oh, that's very attractive. But I'll say this. It looks familiar. It looks similar.
And this is the men's schedule, Carlos?
Yeah, that's non-conference.
Okay.
I will say this, and we've had Coach Johnson on here several times, Coach Pettaway, and he inherited that schedule. But once again, I'm going to be excited. I know it's guaranteed games. Charles is going to tell me no coach is hired or fired because it's only on the conference games, which I'm so sick of hearing. I'm just sick of it. It could be the truth. It could be the truth. I don't. Wait a minute, Willa. I don't like it. I don't like it. Shameful.
I think it starts
Carlos,
Carlos,
he's got the winnable ones on there.
It starts out that way when you first get there. They only worried about the conference, your conference record. But in year 2 or 3, they're looking at overall record. And that is going to include your non-conference schedule. That's where a lot of us, that's where we have a problem because it's not good when you play that many guarantee games.
I don't see any blowouts on that schedule, Carlos. I don't see any we're outmanned, outgunned to the point where we're going to lose by 35 and 40. I don't see anybody on the schedule with that. Plus, you're looking at maybe bringing in $500,000 in guarantees, Carlos, that you definitely need. There's no doubt about that. And if I can use that schedule, and not get my butt chewed on a regular basis and still bring in $500,000, that's kind of like a win-win there, Carlos.
I think it's a $700,000 guarantee. All of those games that you talked about, you're not talking about Duke. You're not talking about UConn.
No.
You're talking about some very solid mid-major, high-major schedules in which you're going to get 6 figures.
Exactly.
75, 80, 90.
Coach Pettaway, wait a minute. Let me rub my eyes. Let's see. UNLV, Arizona. Not talking about Duke. Illinois, Texas Christian, who, by the way, very good. Illinois. Coach Johnson, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. You inherited that schedule. Now I got A.D. Willer Brown, who's going to take it because That's bringing in money to the program, the athletic program, right? Money carry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I'm against playing those games all. It's the amount of them. That's too many. I text you, Will. I
It's
said 4 games.
definitely too many, Carlos. There's no doubt about that. It's definitely too many, but I'm sure that Coach Banks had a dollar figure in mind, when he put the schedule together and he figured out exactly how many of those games it was going to take to reach that dollar figure. So I think that was the gist of it, but I really don't see them getting beat up, banged up, with that out of conference schedule. I just don't see it. I mean, even with Arizona being on there and a couple of the other guys that you just mentioned, I just don't see the being out muscled, out physical on a night in, night out basis to the point where I'm actually worried about not just the physical health of my players, but the mental health. I think you're a good coach. You pumping them up, that sort of thing and stuff. And hell, I feel like we got a shot every time we step out there. And I'm going to relay that to them kids. We're going out here. We're going to put the best face forward. We're going to scheme and game plan and do whatever it is that we need to do. And we're going to try to bring the W home. But in the back of my mind, I know we're trying to get this check. So if things get out of hand and I need to go with some of these other kids, that sort of thing, then we do so. But I mean, Carlos, it is what it is on that one until you change the game. And what I mean by change the game is until you're no longer dependent on those kinds of dollars. Then it's just a fact of life. It's just the way that we're gonna have to go. So are you saying if Coach Banks goes out and raises $500,000 that he wouldn't need to play any more guarantee games? Is that the mindset, Carlos?
Yes.
Just a thought.
Yes.
Just
yes.
thought.
I mean, part of the qualifications is unless you have a strong staff, that somebody has a business background that and marketing can get out and help do it. I think it would just help a little bit if you could raise some money where you won't have to play so many. Coach Pettaway, help me out. If I had hair, I'd pull it out.
Well, Carlos, I agree with you. I think you have to do it in moderation. I've never believed in playing your entire non-conference schedule on the road or playing it in all guarantee games. I think you have to have a healthy balance. And to me, that helps not only it helps your players mentally if you have a balance. But when you put those kids out there for 12 or 13 straight road games, that is not good for them for the rest of the season. That's why a lot of teams that do that, unless they have a veteran ball club, they don't do well in the conference schedule. If you got a veteran team, you might get away with that. Texas Southern did that for years. But you have to be careful. I think you got to have a balance.
Let me ask Wheeler Brown a question about what you talked about the guarantee game. So the figure that you talked about, $700,000, is that something that as an AD, do they come up with that, or is that kind of a figure that is being brought to them by the VP of Finance, who's looking at dollars for not only athletics but the whole university?
That's probably number one is something that you are looking at from an athletic director point of view, because you're expecting all your monies to go into the department. When you're building a budget, Charles, you're the AD and you're building a budget. When you're the athletic director and you're building the budget, and let's say, you're trying to get to a budget of, let's just throw out a figure, $12 million. Then you're breaking that down in terms of where those particular dollars are going to come from. Okay, so you're looking at the guarantee situation as dollars that are going into the athletic budget. When you put that $700,000 or $500,000 figure on the budget sheet, okay, that's monies that is going to the athletic department. This is not monies that that is going to the general fund of the university. Okay, this is part of your athletic budget, and so you want to make sure that you're able to cover all that, because Charles, you're really playing with house money. The money hasn't got there yet, so you really doing things on loan from the university. Okay, and as the checks come in, then you're making the balance sheet do pretty much what it needs to do. So it's a figure that, from an athletic point of view, you and your business manager for athletics, are coming up with that particular figure, and then you're trying to see, and what number of games can we play in order to get this figure. If I can get this figure in 6 games, okay, then Coach Johnson or Coach Pettaway, that gives you the other 6 or 7 games or what have you to, kind of play with, mix and match, get some home people in here and all that sort of thing. But, if 600,000 is the firm figure or 700,000 is the firm figure, and you getting a late jump on this to the point where the big money games are already, kind of taken, so you got to put together a lot of mid-major type of things in order to come up with that figure, then you're going to get the kind of schedule that Southern has pretty much right now.
I'm about to be ill. I really am. Because but my question is, and I understand that, how much you think goes back into the basketball program? I know Texas Southern, we've heard that they, pretty much all of the proceeds went into that, but we got to change it though. Willard, you do agree though? We need a change of format, and we got
definitely
people in the chat room saying, empty FG Clark Activity Center does not free your team up to generate its revenue at home. On one end, all of that $700,000, it will just say, for the sake of argument, it does well. It helps the athletic department continue to function, operate. But on the backside, nobody's coming to the game. You know how we are. If we've got an 8-4 record, that's much better than a 4-8 and a 2-10. It just kills the spirit. But you got money in the athletic department, not specifically to the basketball program, but it just kills the morale somewhat.
Carlos, you damn if you do, Carlos, and Carlos, you damn if you do, and you damn if you don't. There is no cut and dry formula, okay, right now that's going to please all the masses. It's just not there. There's no formula right now that I'm going to be able to bring in $600,000-$700,000 and still have 7 home games during the preseason. That's just not going to happen. And that going. So, like I said, you got to try to find that happy medium in there somewhere, but you're not just playing for basketball. Okay, you're playing for soccer, you're playing for tennis, you're playing for golf, you're playing for track and field. That sort of thing. So, you're helping to pay for all those sports who can't generate revenue themselves. You just happen to be the cash cow at that particular time. So while we don't want to milk you dry, we do have to milk you. And, it's a sad thing to say, Carlos, but it's a state of affairs that we're in, kind of.
And we're in a certain way, Carlos. I look at Southern's schedule; those games that you mentioned. Arizona, that's a 6-figure pay date. Illinois, that's probably a 6-figure, probably a 90,000, maybe a 6-figure pay date.
And a loss.
I was talking about money.
Hey, that was Mo Carter there. Tell Mo hi.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I wonder how much money.
Yeah,
you
Mo
could
is
put-
in the house. Mo is in the house.
Okay,
Southern
so
transfer there.
what
That's it.
what are the other games on the schedule? You said Illinois, Arizona. What are the other games?
Marquette.
Six
You know,
figure.
but
Probably
you know that
close to six figures.
you know they're at the bottom of the totem pole. They're not good teams. See, I'm looking, and believe it or not, I'm the one that says, Reverend Ike says the lack of money is the root of all evil. I understand that, but I guess I'm just saying, because we're running out of time here, a happy medium. That's what I'm looking at. And I've got an email from a guy who said you'd break the athletic department if you limit those type of games. Well, guess what? Somebody will have to get out their tush and get it done.
Well, see, Jaguar Nation's got to be patient with Coach Johnson. He inherited that schedule.
That's what I said.
Yep.
That's what I said.
Well, but really, I don't see it getting better in the future. So Coach Johnson is really just getting a taste of, I think, the way things are probably going to be moving forward. Unless, he has some connections to where he can get money out of some of those bottom feeders, it's pretty much going to be the same mechanism pretty much moving forward, unless he has that conversation with Coach Banks in terms of limiting the number in terms of guaranteed dollars that he needs to bring in.
Okay,
I don't see it getting any better.
And then, Carlos, the other question is how much communication is there in basketball for your AD and basketball coach, men and or women, in terms of crafting the schedule? Like for Alcorn, for example, we only have one game at home in non-conference. Xavier.
Wow.
That's
another world beater. Go ahead.
Xavier, that's it. We open up with Arkansas. Coach Bussey's going back home. He's from Maryland. We're playing Maryland in December. And so, we got a very tough schedule. We play Arkansas State, which is winnable, UAB. So, there's some mid-major games in there which you're going to get 75, 80. But, you have to look at all that too. Like Wheeler Brown said, you're going to, for Southern, you got 3 or 4 six-figure pay dates there. You got all these games. So that tells you how much money is maybe needed for those guaranteed games. That's probably $800,000. I'm just guessing. $800,000 for all those games. You add it all up. You got 4 six-figure pay dates and others. It's about $800,000, I think.
Right, but here's the thing: how much of that is coming back to the basketball program? See, that's
less than 5%. Probably.
My question would be this: what is it that basketball needs that it doesn't have? What is it that it needs that it doesn't have? Do they have?
Where do we start?
But that's something that Coach Johnson needs to sit down and have that conversation with Coach Banks also. We're playing these guaranteed games, that sort of thing, but I need X, Y, and Z for my program.
More coaches?
I need 20% off the top. That's just off the top, 20%. I see Willis laughing because he knows.
But you got to tell me what that 20% means. You got to explain budget. To me. I need another extra assistant coach, or I need 2 or 3 more shooting machines, or I need this, I need that sort of thing. I need to be able to spend an extra night somewhere or something like that. You got to be detailed to me. Don't just tell me I need 20%. That's not enough for me. I'm sorry, Carlos. That's just not enough for me. I can't operate like that. You got to put it out there in no uncertain terms, and maybe we come to an agreement where ultimately I give you 10% or 12% or something to that effect.
That's called negotiating.
I
want 25%, and I'll be detailed.
I'm not gonna slap you down. That's for sure. I'm not gonna slap you down. I'm not gonna slap you down. We're gonna talk about these things. But I need a detailed list of exactly what it is that you're trying to do.
All right, hey fellas. Now, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we started talking about sellouts and hard sellouts and all that.
Alabama and
Three days ago, they announced that this game was sold out today.
Yeah.
Carlos, now, we're playing Tuskegee, a Division II program. But there's more interest for a Tuskegee game than some of the other schools in the SWAC. Like if you bring Texas Southern in here, they cannot sell out this place. But there are certain Division II teams that produce money. And Tuskegee is one of them in the state of Alabama. Miles is another one. So we got a hard sellout, and it took me almost an hour to move 1 mile because I got caught in the traffic. So
wow.
So there's money to be made today, and it's not with a conference opponent.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Yeah. I was going to say, Carlos, quickly that, you know, usually sellouts and SWAC football don't go together. But what we're seeing here over the last few weeks, sellouts and SWAC football, hard sellout in Baton Rouge, hard sellout in Huntsville, and just what we talked about earlier, FAMU, Prairie View, and Tallahassee sold out. So I'm glad to see that, and I hope that trend continues.
Well, it's no secret. Homecoming usually is the most lucrative right, Wheeler.
Definitely.
But all of our homecomings haven't been sellouts, though.
Yeah, well, but the challenge is, good point, Coach. The point is to get better with that and then have other games besides the homecoming, because then that can help. Then we won't have to be scheduling 12 away games in basketball. My God, I'm just not sold on that. Quickly, because we've got a minute left. It's been an interesting discussion. SWAC recap last week: North Carolina Central over Valley 45-3, FAMU over Alabama State 23-10. JSU will struggle with BCU 22-16. They dropped to number 3 now in the poll, in the power rankings in the conference. Grambling State over TSU 35-23. Offensively, outstanding, but I'm still not sold on Grambling yet. PV, overall point stand the last second field goal, 23-20. PV, it seems to be in the driver's seat in the West. So far. Today, FAMU and Mississippi Valley State. Roll FAMU, Alabama A&M and Tuskegee. Tough one. I think Alabama A&M gets it done. Texas Southern over Lincoln. Southern at UAPB. I got Southern winning it. We shall see. Alabama State and Alcorn, 5 p.m., a big one. Alabama State and Alcorn both defensively good. I'm going with the home team. Alabama State gets it done. That's right, Charles. And Grambling State and Prairie View. Wow. Grambling State offensively getting it done, defensively still a challenge. I like PV again this week to strengthen that hole in the Western Division, and, of course, Jackson State open. Quickly, closing comments. If you agree, disagree with something I said, have at it.
Well,
Coach Pettaway?
I just want to say this. It's been a great day. It's a great day here in Huntsville. Beautiful weather. The crowd's already coming in. And I'm just going to say, go Bulldogs.
Wheeler?
I'll say this. The middle of the road in the SWAC is the middle of the road. You know, so Alabama State and those guys, Alabama State, Pine Bluff, you know, there's probably a few other in there somewhere. Charles, they middle of the road. They're gonna stay in the middle of the road for the time being at least. And for us to think that we can expect anything other than middle of the road right now, I think it's fool's gold right now, Charles. So, you know, I'm with the blue bloods, the traditional blue bloods, you know, the FAMUs, the JSUs, the Southerns, that sort of thing. I'm with the blue bloods, you know, for the remainder of the time, the remainder of the schedule. And so we just see from there. I wish all those other squads well, don't get me wrong. You know, but as it was that Bill Parcells said, you are what your record says you are. They are who they are, Carlos. They are for the time being, anyway.
I'm gonna call you Wheeler Hardliner Brown, Charles, and then I'll quickly wrap up.
Yeah, quickly. I think in the Western Division, Carlos, you and I in the West, it's a big weekend. It's a big day in Dallas. That Grambling Prairie View game, if Grambling wins that game, the West is open for business. It opens it up for Southern, puts Alcorn back in it. Southern's in control. So that's a big game in Dallas coming up tonight. I'm looking forward to that one. Looking forward to seeing if the Braves can get back on track. Another loss right now, the first month of the season, ain't going to help matters any.
And I'll just simply say it's been a pleasure. I like the dialogue between all of us. We'll agree on some points, we disagree on others, but that's what makes life so well. I want to thank everyone out there for tuning in. Let the conversation continue. And until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. As always, peace and God bless.